Hi, your Florida Medicaid planning attorney here, and in this video, I want to explain the concept of a pooled special needs trust. What is a pooled special needs trust? What is it? When is it used? How can it benefit my client, the eventual Medicaid applicant? Okay, so first and foremost, the idea is if you want to qualify for Florida Medicaid long-term care benefits in the year 2020, you have to have less than $2,000 in what Medicaid considers to be countable assets, and you have to earn from all sources combined less than or up to $2,349. So you take your pension, your Social Security benefit, your rental income, right? You add all this together, and if it's more than $2,349, you are not eligible unless, and if you have more than $2,000 in countable resources, you're not eligible unless you come to an elder law attorney such as myself to put together the strategies necessary to protect those assets and get you the long-term care, home care, ALF care, or paying for that skilled nursing facility. All right, and we have a lot of tools at our disposal. And one of those tools is a pooled special needs trust, primarily used for folks who have too much by way of assets, but it can also be used for those who have too much income, and I'll explain that in a little bit. But first and foremost, it's most often used for folks who have more than $2,000. They want to qualify for benefits now without having to go broke first. All right, so typically, so you can take any amount of money out of my client's account and transfer it into a pooled special needs trust. A pooled special needs trust is a professionally managed trust. There are several of them located throughout Florida. I work with 3 of them that I've just had a very nice relationship with and I know do right by my clients. And for a fee, they will manage money that is in that trust, and they will only use that money to pay for things that benefit my elder or my client who is desiring of Medicaid benefits. The reason why people want to use this service is because typically if you have a significant amount of money, or really any amount over $2,000, and that is what's preventing you from qualifying for Medicaid, you can't just give that money away. If you give that money away, you're triggering what's called the 5-year look-back period. I'll link to another article and a video that discusses that in more detail. But essentially, if you give money away, it results in a period of ineligibility. You're penalized for giving the money away. But pooled special needs trusts have a special status under the federal law that the states have to, including Florida, have to recognize as well. And the federal law says that if you take any amount of money and you transfer it into one of these duly created, appropriately created pooled special needs trusts, that will not count as a gift. And the Medicaid recipient can obtain their benefits, and the pooled special needs trust essentially keeps them liquid. So now when they have a bill to pay, instead of asking a family member to pay the bill or not being able to pay it because they've spent down all their money otherwise, this is money that is set aside just for their use. And it's needs or wants. They'll pay utility bills, they'll pay medical bills, they'll pay for a new big screen TV, they'll pay off the Visa bill. There are very few limitations to what this money can be put towards. Now, we don't often use the pooled special needs trust by itself. We're typically using it in conjunction with other Medicaid planning techniques, and that's because the pooled special needs trust has several drawbacks. The first, what I consider to be a very minor drawback, is the pooled special needs trust is not a free service. However, the fees are, in my mind, very reasonable. Typically, there is a small entrance fee. So it might be between $500 and maybe $1,200 depending on the trust. And then the trustee is being paid annually. On the low end, I see 1.5%. On the high end, I see about 3%. So we go on the very low, and I try to steer my clients toward the less expensive annual fee pool trust providers. So if you think about it, if you were to take your money and invest it with Merrill Lynch or UBS or Ameriprise, those folks are charging 1% or 1.25% to manage your money. To have the service of a pooled special needs trust for slightly more than that, in my mind, is very reasonable. So the ongoing expense, Oh, and by the way, the money is conservatively invested, and oftentimes that expense is covered by the investment. So it might even be a free service, depending on how the stock market's doing. The bigger drawback in my mind is as the give and the take. The reason why Medicaid allows you to take any amount of money and put it into the trust is because the bigger drawback is after the Medicaid recipient passes away, the pooled special needs trustee is obligated by law to notify Medicaid. Medicaid will then send a bill for everything that they've paid. So if the Medicaid recipient is in a nursing home, that can be quite a lot of money. If they're receiving care at home, it might be less. But the pooled special needs trust receives a bill from Medicaid, and the pooled special needs trustee has to pay back Medicaid every dollar. And only if there's money left over can the pooled special needs trust disperse to named heirs, kids, grandkids, charities, what have you. So that's quite a drawback. It's not great for estate planning, but it allows my client to have access to liquidity, which is a significant benefit during the course of their life. The other drawback is some, not all, or I should say most, but not all, pooled special needs trusts have a retention requirement, meaning not only do they have to pay Medicaid back, but they will retain some amount of money as like their closing fee. And then if there's money left over, do the heirs get anything? So the reason why I preface this by saying we don't often use the pooled special needs trust by itself is because we'll use it with another technique that doesn't have that payback requirement, and we try to find the right balance. I always say that with Medicaid planning, there's no magic wand. Everything has pros and cons to it, and the pooled special needs trust is no different. Now, on an income, with the income issue, to remind you, if you earn more than, in 2020, $2,349, you're not eligible for Medicaid unless you take the amount over that and every month put it into what's called a qualified income trust. It's also called a Miller Trust. But what a lot of people don't know is pooled special needs trusts can serve the same function. They're authorized to also shelter income as well. So you can, if you're being told you need a qualified income trust, you can also use a pooled special needs trust. So why would you do that? You have a pooled special needs trust that charges a fee, and you have a qualified income trust that's typically managed by a family member who's not charging a fee. The difference is a qualified income trust has limitations on how the money coming out of the income trust can be spent. And the limitations are it can only be spent on health and medical related expenses. So if you're in an ALF or a nursing home, this typically isn't an issue because paying those bills is very much a health or medical related expense, not an issue. But for my clients who are looking for home health care, they're looking for the Medicaid waiver program to pay for home health care at home, that can be an issue because oftentimes, because Medicaid has all these wonderful health insurance benefits that come with it, their health and medical expenses will in fact be quite low. So if their income is significant and you're putting all this money into a qualified income trust, there may be significant limitations on how that money is going to be spent. In that scenario, it will likely make more sense for my client to forego the income trust and instead take their income overage and put it into a pooled special needs trust, because the pooled special needs trustee is not hamstrung the same way a qualified income trust trustee is. A pooled special needs trustee can disperse that money for a much wider variety of medical and health expenses, of course, but also paying bills and utilities and home maintenance expenses and traveling expenses related to traveling and entertainment and all these nice things. So it's a lot more flexible with how it can pay out. So there's a lot more to it, of course. If you want to learn more about pooled special needs trusts and Medicaid planning in general, please set up a consultation. Thank you very much.